Alrighty. What is happening from the 403 to the HAZ? Mr. Nelson in the house. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we're talking about fractions right now. And we've already talked about adding and subtracting fractions. And we know that if we're going to add fractions together, we need to have the same sized slices of a pie. Because we have to be able to add apples and apples. So to do that, what we do is we use equivalent fractions. So we find a common denominator between the numbers on the bottom of the fraction, the denominator. We find a number they have in common, and then we use that to essentially scale up or scale down our fractions so that they are both out of the same denominator. And then when we do that, then we can just easily add or subtract. Multiplication, much more straightforward. If I'm saying I have a half times a quarter, it just means I have a half of a quarter. And you can see that if I were to draw a quarter, 1/2 times that, this means a half of it. So I can split the whole pie into, I can split each slice into half, and I get a half of a quarter. This half is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I just do the straight multiplication, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 4 is 8. So that's how that works. And division. Now division is kind of a weird one, and there's a lot of people out there who have videos explaining visually what division looks like when we're dividing fractions. To me, it just doesn't really make sense. I'm having trouble deciphering it because basically they're saying, say you have 3/5 divided by 2/3, for example. So the way that I've seen them try to explain this is, okay, first I'm going to do 3/5. And I am just probably very thick and an old dog that can't learn new tricks, and I'm fine with that. But maybe it'll make sense to some of you out here. So I've got my 3/5. And then I got to split it into 2/3. So I'm going to split it into thirds now. Okay? And I'm going to circle my 2/3. Now the answer is going to be how many slices I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, out of whatever's up here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Should be 9 out of 10. And if I do the math here, if I use the KFC, so when we're dividing fractions, a trick to use is KFC, where we keep the first fraction, we flip the second fraction, so we just flip this, and then we change the sign to multiplication. Okay? And when I do that with this one, I have 3/5. I keep the first one. I flip the second one to 3 halves, and then I change the sign. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10. And like I said, 9 out of 10. They act like it's like, oh yeah, this is good. It makes no sense. What makes more sense to me is that, again, we use equivalent fractions. So in this case, I would use equivalent fractions. So I'm just going to make sure that I can divide pieces of pie of the same sized slices, or pie, whatever that means. So common denominator here is going to be 15. So I want them to both be fractions out of 15. 5 goes into 15 3 times, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then 3 goes into 15 5 times, so 2 times 5 is 10. Now I can just go and do straight division. 15 divided by 15 is 1. And then 9 divided by 10 is 9 divided by 10, which I can rewrite as 9 over 10 over 1. And anything divided by 1 is just what itself. So I get 9 out of 10. So that is what our KFC is attempting to do. And that, right there, is how we divide fractions. So let's do just 2 more examples, and you are set to be on your way here. Okay, let's say we have 2/5 divided by 1/7. Okay, so I would say, what's my common denominator? I'm going to do it the long way first, and then I'll show you how quick the shortcut way is. Okay, easiest way to find a common denominator is just multiply them together. 3 times 5, or 7 times 5 is 35. So I'm going to use a common denominator of 35. 5 goes into 5 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. And then 7 goes into 35 5 times. 7 times 5 makes 35. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 5 is 5. And now 35 divided by 35 is 1. And then 14 divided by 5 is 14 over 5, which I can rewrite as 14 divided by 5 over 1, which is just 14 over 5. Mr. Fisher, what's going on? I'm just making a video right now for school. And then, folks, and Lulu's here too. Hi, Lulu. Hey, sweetie.
This is a video
for math, yes. So then, if I use the KFC method, 2 over 5, I'm going to flip the second one, 7 over 1, multiply, I get 14. 5 times 1 over 5. Same answer.
Bye, Mr. Nelson.
Same thing. Bye, Mr. Fisher. Bye, Lulu.
Hey, he's working. Yeah,
okay. So last time, I've got 3/8 divided by 5/6. Okay. So again, if I use my lowest common denominator. Now, 8 times 6 is 48, but their lowest common denominator is 24. I could use either. I just might have to simplify my fraction at the end. And simplifying my fraction means if I can divide the numerator and the denominator by a common number to make that fraction more simple. But in this case, I'll use 24 because it'll be easier. So 24, that's their lowest common denominator. And 8 goes into 24 6 times, 3 times. So 8 times 3 makes 24, so 3 times 3 makes 9. 6 goes into 24 4 times, so 6 times 4 makes 24. So 5 times 4 makes 20. And then 24 divided by 24 is 1. 9 divided by 20 is 9 over 20, which I can just write as 9 over 20, because any number divided by 1 is that number. And then I use my KFC method, my fast way, once I'm just like, who cares, I just want to do the math because I'm an engineer. So I flip the second one, I multiply, wham bam, I get 18 over 40. And then I would notice, okay, I think I can actually reduce this. I can at least divide both by 2. So I divide the top and bottom by 2, I get 9 over 20. And then at this point, there's no other numbers that I can divide by both the top and the bottom, and I'm done. And that's how we divide fractions. And most of you are really good at it, but just in case.